Hola amigos. Just wanted to give you guys an understanding that this episode is really, really good. Sarah has an amazing story about partying with the Playboy mansion and building her businesses. We also have a great bowl of tequila, but there is some audio issues with Sarah's mic, some technical issues that came through. So click the CC in YouTube, which is the closed captions. It's going to give you guys a better experience. And again, I apologize for that audio, but it's out of our hands. So enjoy this episode. All right, ready?
I already recorded.
All right, awesome. Hola, ¿cómo estás? Welcome to another episode of Tequila High Club. Today is a fantastic episode because we are tasting and going to learn about one of my favorite tequila companies. You'll find out a little bit about them a little bit later. And also we have a special guest who I've had the pleasure of just becoming friends with. She is a fantastic human. She's from New Zealand, but overall, she is an absolute boss bitch. She's growing many different businesses and absolutely killing it. So go like and subscribe right now and let's get into it. Sarah.
Hi.
Welcome. How are you?
I was okay until I saw the tequila. I'm not a big fan of tequila, so this is going to be very interesting.
This is what I'm really excited about because you've told me a number of times you hate tequila. Is there any tequila that you've ever had that is kind of okay and you didn't feel like throwing up?
Okay, so recently, I don't know what it's called, but it's like a white, tall, pretty bottle with a blue pattern on it.
Blue pattern.
That was nice.
Which is Class Azul. So,
Still kind of choked it down.
and that was kind of like, did it taste kind of spicy a little bit at all? Was it kind of sweet-ish?
It's just an old tequila taste a bit spicy when it goes down.
A little bit, yeah.
My shots are too big.
Maybe they are. So this bottle, what we're going to go through today is kind of very similar to that bottle,
Okay.
which is good. So, and how are you feeling? Are you good? Do you feel? I know like the last week you've had a pretty crazy event in Bali.
Yeah.
Are you recovered?
Not really.
No?
I'm quite tired today, so I'm hoping it's going to wake down.
We all know tequila.
Great energy as always.
Thank you. This is the reason why we call it Tequila High Club, because tequila puts everyone on a high.
Okay.
So let's get into it.
Yeah.
So we've got Codigo here. It's a beautiful company. This is called reposado. So reposado in Spanish means rested. So reposado,
Okay.
it means it sits in oak barrels for a little bit. So if you notice that there's some tequilas that are like a clear, those aren't, they're basically just produced and then just put straight into bottles.
Oh, okay.
So anytime you see something that's yellow, it's usually been put into a barrel for a while for it to age and just become better tasting. Okay?
Okay, so you can usually assume those are safer,
Yeah.
like tequila, like
Yeah.
stuff.
So let's have a taste of this. We're going to just taste it neat and I want you to smell it first.
We're going to do a cheers?
Cheers. I want you to smell it. See, do you smell any flavors at all in it?
Just bad decisions.
It's still early in the night. Okay, now have a taste. Just a little taste. It's quite strong at start.
It's okay.
Uh-huh. Do you taste anything?
I feel like I'm very good at this. It tastes like,
No one usually is until I start.
it's got cinnamon or something in it.
Mm-hmm.
Does it?
Very, very close. Very close. So do you taste like kind of it's like a bit of it feels like it's a spicy kind of sensation?
I don't say that, but
Yeah.
the person that we both know, Prinzilla, always gives me so much crap about saying everything is spicy.
Well, this is spicy because it's got pepper in it. And also, this is aged for 6 months. And it's a mix.
When do they usually age together?
It depends. Reposado can, like last week when I had Zilla on, that bottle was only aged for 2 months. And we were talking about it where you could just kind of taste the taste. It wasn't strong, but feels like it's more of a full body. So you can kind of taste, when you see a reposado and you taste it and it kind of feels a little bit more thick, you can kind of start figuring out,
Yeah, about the thing.
yeah, when it starts like aging more in the barrel. So there's a couple of things. Like this is an interesting way that they put it in the barrel. So they get these these French white oak barrels, which are predominantly used for wine. So they use it from the Napa Valley in California.
How do people figure this out?
Because, yeah, the interesting thing about tequila is there's not much you can actually do to it. So people try and experiment with different woods and barrels from around the world because different timbers around the world give different like woody flavors. So these guys have taken it from Napa Valley, which always has like a Cabernet, like kind of white wine taste. It also has a bit of an infused whiskey feel to it. So you know, if you ever taste whiskey, it kind of always feels that like that kind of spicy rough kind of feel.
I was going to say that, then I thought for me saying it was kind of whiskey, but
no laughter. Yeah, it's whiskey vibes. And then also in it, they've got the oak as well was very strong in it, but then they have a bit of vanilla, and they've got citrus in it as well. So again,
vanilla entirely.
Yeah.
Oh, you're down.
The vanilla is hard a little bit in this one. And then there's an aftertaste as well, which kind of tastes a little bit peppery. That's a little bit like kind of the smoothness over it.
Okay, that's kind of nice.
Yeah. And there is actually one more flavor that you actually taste in it. Banana.
Banana?
Yeah, they got like an essence of banana through it. Yeah. Which is very, very hard to taste because it's something that's not really like strong in it.
Do you ever feel like when someone actually mentions the flavors to you, then you can taste it more?
Everyone feels like it's like kind of a placebo effect. And it's hard because if you don't really know anything about something, you're kind of just going over like, you know, what you think, right?
Yeah.
But again, this is the reason why I love this, because I love doing this show on educating on there's more to tequila than just taking a shot. Yeah. There's a lot of flavors that goes into it. And one of the cool things I like about Codigo is they've got some pretty cool, rich history on how this company actually came about.
So the logo and stuff on there.
Yeah. So the logo here, does that look like anything to you there?
Like a coat of arms of some type?
It's like a cross, yeah.
Yeah.
So the cross is the Jerusalem cross. So obviously, I mean,
I've been learning about this. The only time I have tequila is 4 a.m. in a club and it's cheap tequila and I have a terrible hangover.
Exactly.
I think that's almost where my bad experience is.
My dad's the same. So this is why I think this is an important show to help and just put a little bit more trust into tequila.
Yeah.
So the Spanish invaded and colonized Mexico.
Yeah.
Right. And so back in when was it 1530, the cross, this cross actually sits on top of a Jalisco in Mexico, like the Jerusalem cross. It's actually up on top, right? And then, so back in 1530, when they colonized and they were going through that colonial, basically, amendment and that, there was a lot of pushing back, and there was a long generation in this area called, I'm still trying to pronounce it right, Amititian. Apologies if I said that wrong. But it's a beautiful area just near Jalisco. And so it's a cool town. And what that actually had was families who were very private, and they had this special recipe for tequila. And so the tequila recipe, they only allowed certain amount of people to come in and actually taste it. So it's very private. So even when people went out and started selling their recipes from all around Mexico, this family and this little area said no. They kept it very private. Yeah, very, very private. So it wasn't only until recent that all the families came together and they said, hey, look, let's bring this to the market. And they do still very selective amount of bottles. They don't go out and do mass bottles. And then that's where Codigo came from. So Codigo means Los Codigos. It honors the codes. So Los Codigos means the codes. So everyone in this area still values the code of their heritage, of everything that happened in 1530 when the coat of arms came. So that's the reason why how all of that blends together. That's the reason why I love tequila, because it's not just about getting drunk or making some shitty thing that you take at 4 a.m., right? Yeah. There's a lot of heart and soul that goes into tequila, and it's really important to understand where that soul comes from. Because out of all the alcohol, tequila has the best soul.
Well, now I have a really cool story to tell people.
Now you know. So what we're going to do now, we're going to take a shot because we've learned about the story of tequila.
Are we getting drunk?
Yeah, you're getting a little tipsy. You're getting a little bit tipsy.
I mean, I'm not complaining.
So we're going to have a shot. Now we've learned the story of Codigo. We're going to learn the story about Sarah. Okay. And while
How cool was that?
I'm pretty sure you have a pretty cool
I
story.
left that small town. And it was not a secret.
You do have a pretty nice soul, though. That is true. All right, so let's take a shot of this. And we're going to have my favorite orange as the little tiny chaser.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah, that's nice with orange.
Much better, right? Again, this is a shitty thing about nightclubs is they give you lemon, which is terrible. Lemon does not go, it does not like blend in with the citrus on how it should be with tequila. So
Yeah, okay, that was nice. And it didn't like burn my throat.
exactly. So out of 10.
Actually, I'm like, but I'm happy that, and we didn't have that sound yet, so it's okay. Well, until I reenacted it.
I've heard that a couple of other times as well.
Yeah, no.
So out of 10, how would you rate Codigo so far, the Reposado?
Probably like a 8.5.
8.5,
Very high considering I was coming in here thinking it was going to be rated a 1.
You're a little bit offish as well when I asked you first. You're like, I was like, trust me, put your trust in Blake.
Yeah. I was keen to come and have a conversation with you,
Yeah.
but I was like, can we have anything else but tequila? But that's nice. I felt like you chose a good one. So thank you.
And now we're going to have my favorite, which is tequila and orange juice, because the citrus, again, the orange just blends in with pretty much every single tequila. It's very important to taste a tequila neat to really understand the flavor. Then it's okay to have a shot, and then we're going to have a nice drink after this. So let's cheers to this, and let's
Cheers to learning about tequila.
and cheers to learning about Sarah right now. So
Oh my God, that's so true. Now I don't mind it.
it's delicious, right?
I cannot stand having tequila and drink.
Disgusting. It's the best. So Sarah, where are you from?
How well do you know New Zealand?
Pretty well, but I'm pretty sure everyone watching probably doesn't know New Zealand.
So I'm originally from a small farming community in the North Island. It's very well known for gangs and
What's it called?
methamphetamine, Wanganui.
Wanganui.
It's beautiful, but it's kind of like you drive through the place, you know what I mean? So I grew up.
But you grew up in...
Yeah. So I grew up on a farm just north of there, and I worked very, very hard at school because I always knew I wanted to get out of there as fast as I could. In the best way. It's a beautiful town. There just isn't much going on, and you know when you just like have a bit of it, and you just want to go. So then I got a scholarship for applied science and moved to Wellington.
What's plaid science?
Exactly, Pike. That's why I'm sitting here today and I'm not in a lab. But this is the thing though, is my only teacher that I really got along with at school was my biology teacher. So she said, why don't you apply for the scholarship? And I was assuming I could do my major in bio and do more social-based sciences and minor. But when I got there, it was all physics. And I'm just not a numbers girl at all. So I did get my bachelor's. Then I decided to take kind of like a gap 6 months off uni because my piece of shit ex-boyfriend at the time was cheating on me with my friend.
Wow.
And then my other friend said, hey, do you want to come to LA and do this Kentucky with me? So at 21, we went from LA to New York. We went through, I think it was 44 states. So it was a big one. It was over
Pretty much everywhere.
Yeah, so we went through like all these different states over the period of 2 months. And then we spent the last month in our favorite places. And we were in Memphis of all places in this dingy bar. And then the editor of Maxim Australia came up and like gave me his business card. And we just thought, you know, no way it's him. He asked me, have I ever done any modelling before? And I laughed and like being someone that grew up on a farm, like I knew how to shoot before I could walk. Like me, modelling, what? No. I thought it was a scam. Anyway, I went back home and my mum found his business card and said, what's the worst that's going to happen? I was thinking, I don't know, a lot of bad things could happen, Mum.
Were you holding a rifle when she was asking that? You just like got some rabbits over you?
Yeah. I do know how to skin a possum very quickly. Sorry to all you Australians.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Wait, what's the biggest thing you killed? You shot?
So this is the thing, is Like, I like pig hunting. I haven't been pig hunting for years. That's something that I always did with my dad, but unfortunately passed away a couple of years ago.
Sorry to hear.
But I'm fine with killing possums, with rabbits, anything like that. The second I get a deer in the scope and I see its eye, all I think of is Bambi. So I'm acting like I have this hard exterior, but I'm actually just a little Disney princess. But yeah, anyway, so Mum said, why don't you pull him? I did. And that was the one decision that has changed my entire life. So the next day I flew to Australia.
How old are we? 22.
21.
Still 21.
Yeah.
So you were 21. So is that when your modeling started? So how did that come about?
So then I, just based on what my mum had asked me, I was like, stop it. What's the worst I can lose? Called Maxim, flew out to Australia the next day to Sydney, shot for the cover of Maxim Australia. That was my first time ever being in front of a camera. And then my whole life changed very quickly. I didn't end up going back to university. I ended up working with such amazing brands such as Guess. I ended up being New Zealand's first ever Playmate. Crazy parties at Playboy Mansion when he was still alive. But it was a lot at a very young age.
Were you single at this time?
So I was kind of in and out of that same very toxic relationship because he couldn't understand. He just gaslight me all the time.
The ex,
Yeah.
who was hooking up with your best friend.
Yeah. So that I know of, he'd slept with like 8 or 9 people. But the thing was, is he was like, if you're 21 and you're hanging around people like Drake and stuff, then you're obviously doing something. But for me, if I'm in a relationship, then I'm 100% loyal. It doesn't matter if I'm hanging out with people that are big in the industry or whatever.
But I think that comes down to, I mean, we can talk about this later,
Yeah.
but it comes down to him and him being insecure, which is, that's a whole nother story. But
And that was just like a whole traumatic thing regularly as well, because he just kind of broke me down into this person that I didn't think I was beautiful. And then when I was modeling, I'm like, naturally, I'm like this size, which is considered to be overweight. The issue with the modeling industry still, when they say they've fixed it, is now you've got plus size models, which are really, you know, bigger girls, curvier girls. Then you've got the stick thing models, and then there's kind of the meats that don't really fit in anywhere. So the food I was eating was insane. Like for breakfast, I would be having 1 mushroom and some spinach. For lunch, they would literally have in my little plan scheduling in me throwing up. So I went from this like healthy, hearty farm girl to thinking I needed to get breast implants because I got told my boobs weren't big enough, and then it would be like, by next week you need to lose 5 kilos. And they'd send you these crazy plans. And that led to me having a really bad eating disorder. And then I found social media, which I'm so grateful for. I know that people have very mixed opinions on social media, and there are some things obviously that need working on, but for me, I love it because now I can sit here and drink with you and not be going, how many calories is in this? And I can post whatever the fuck I want to post, not be told all day X, Y, and Z, and you've been doing this.
So you're being true to yourself, right?
Yeah. And occasionally I will still do a few modeling jobs, but because it's now based more on my following as well, it allows me to kind of be a bit more flexible with this. My requests and sizing and stuff like that. And recently I just did a job in France, and the photographer purposely ordered the wrong sized clothing and was calling me Little Miss Piggy and going at me. So I just went, if you, I don't need this. I don't like it. It's not worth the money for me anymore. Younger.
Do you want to name and shame? See, that's the professional thing about you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not allowed. I mean, I'd like to. There's quite a few people I'd love to steal some beans off. Maybe there's a book coming one day. But no, so it was like a great experience for me, of course. But I just think like that whole you grow every 7 years thing, I'm a strong believer in that because I just quickly changed. Like, it's very weird, some of the brands that I've worked for, like Guess, for example, Paul Marciano was the biggest piece of shit creep you
Really?
Me. But then people always go, oh my God, you work for Playboy. Like, what did Hef try and do? And blah, blah, blah. He used to just be like, oh, it's my Kiwi girl, and fist pump me. Like, that's the most he ever did. He wouldn't even hug me. He would just assume
That he's fucking everyone.
yeah, but it's not like half the time he was asleep. Like, he wasn't even at his parties. But it's funny because it's always the brands that you least expect it, that are all about like body positivity and inclusivity and all that stuff that are always snaky.
They just do it for the front end so that everyone's like, oh, they are. But in the back end, they're like, nope.
Exactly, it's weird. But yeah, so then that kind of led me more into doing socials and stuff. And then, as you know, with Instagram and that, like, it's very all over the show with brand collaborations and stuff. So then I looked into starting my own brands. And then, yeah.
So let's rewind that before we get into the brands, because, I mean, that's incredible that you can go and you're just a natural in modeling. And, I mean, that's an art itself. That's kind of like a sports athlete finding, never touching imagine this. Imagine Tom Brady never touching a football. Do you know who Tom Brady is? Yeah. Of course. Of course you are.
No, I was just looking shocked because I was like, oh my God, me and Tom Brady in the same sentence? I'm an icon.
Now I feel like a piece of shit because I asked you if you knew who Tom Brady is. You're looking at me weird. And I was like, oh, wait, sorry. So I mean, imagine if Tom Brady, he just randomly rocked up to practice at some university or some college and threw a ball, and they're like, holy shit, you can throw a ball. That's basically what you were, because I mean, to go to Maxim cover for having zero experience, and they thought you were natural, right? It's amazing.
Yeah.
So when did you start your social media, and then how did you grow it? Because I want to talk about that.
When I started it.
Well,
But the story of starting it is a whole thing in itself, because I was in the Disneyland line. I must have been around the same time. Must have been around 21 then. And my friend was like, come on, Sarah, I'm trying to tag you and stuff, and I'm having to send links to your Facebook account. Get Instagram. Everyone your age is Instagram. And I'm like, why do I need that? I already have Facebook. And she's like, okay, old lady, like, you need to get Instagram.
Yeah.
And so she just set it up for me. And I was like, I'm not going to post anything, blah, blah, blah. And then when obviously I started doing Maxim and stuff, she said, why don't you just post your modeling photos on there? So I did. And back then it was a lot easier to grow as well. And then there was this whole thing where I was at the Playboy mansion and Justin Bieber came and groped my boob. And my instant reaction being who I am was just a backhand across the face. Not caring it was Justin Bieber. I was just like, I don't care.
He gives this shit.
Don't touch me. Like, excuse me? Anyway, then I never told a single soul. I was like, who's going to leave me anyway? And then, ironically, his next album came out, and it all of a sudden got leaked. And I was so confused. I woke up in the next morning, and I had so many people photoshopping, like, if I had my hand up like this in a selfie, for example, this is a selfie here. They had guns photoshopped on my head, and I was getting all these death threats, and it was crazy for about a week. So that also kind of helped, because while I was getting so much hate,
All the
quite a few jobs, and that led to more followers. So
okay,
it was a weird situation. But it wasn't just, I wish I could say, oh, it was this one thing and I was in a club with so and so, and then
she kind of had some crazy leaps, like Maxim, and then that leap, and then so forth. So how long did it take for you to get zero to like 1 million?
Oh, it was kind of like 0 to 500K. It was kind of like that was like a year, and then it was kind of
That's fast.
a bit slower from there. And then from like 1 million to 2 million, it was like pretty quick. But in between that,
That's weird. It's interesting.
it's really strange. But
So
council.
So at what point did you start you're doing that, you're modeling, having fun at the Playboy mansion? At what point did you think, okay, well, now I need to monetize on a business sense? What was the first business that you started from that? Because you were doing obviously a lot of collaborations, right?
Yeah.
But
So-
when you're like, I need to make my own money.
That was when, so I'm really good at drawing. But it's something I enjoy doing, but I'm not patient enough. So, like, I love doing fun abstract stuff, but what I'm actually good at is taking a photo of you right now and drawing that over 2 weeks. It's amazing.
Really?
I just do not have the attention span for that anymore. So it's not that fun to make. Anyway,
I don't know how you can do that, because I can barely draw a stick figure. Like,
I can't draw a stick figure.
but you can draw.
Lots of that hens do before and you draw the naked guy. Wow, they look bizarre. Like, it's just so bad. I didn't even know that I was like, I have to spend a lot of time and be in the right ones. Right. Anyway, I was working with, obviously doing collaborations with a lot of watch companies. And every time I'd get one, I'd be like, I like this, but I would design it like this, 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 and this, and this. And then my partner was like, well, why don't you just draw one? And as he was big into business, I had no business sense at all for him. And I was like, well, what do you mean we're not going to draw one? He's like, draw one and we'll get them manufactured. Like, and you said, keep saying you want to do your own brand. So I did. And then that kind of, like with the logos, I don't know what we're going to do. So we did this little, like wolf on the top of it, that after our dog Sachi, who's now passed away. But she was like a very, very badly abused dog. I went and mastiff. And his wife bred these little Pomeranians. And she came running out into a little underbite. And you can imagine like a little Pomeranian, probably like a little Pikachu. She was running out and this lady just boots her in the head. And she hits the side of the wall. We didn't know at the time that she'd broken her pelvis in 13 places.
From that.
Yeah, and a tiny puppy, like our pelvis is not very big. It basically got shattered. And I obviously lost my shit. I'm very, very big advocate of that. So I was like, absolutely not, I'm taking the dog. So she said, well, you can't because you're getting this mastiff. And I'm like, I'm not doing this mastiff, I'm getting a whole breed, we're going to shut down. And she's like, no one's going to want this dog anyway. I can put it down because of its underbite. She lived a very healthy, happy life. She like going blind and stuff, but that was kind of I wanted to have a purpose behind the brand as well. So I was like, how can we help dogs and stuff? So we got a little logo and stuff. And then we named it Sachi, like Saschii. And we went to Thailand and we went to the Soy Dog Foundation and we saw the great work that they were doing over there with saving dogs from the meat trade industry. And the money was actually going to the dogs. So from every watch sale or bracelet sale, $10 from every sale goes to the Soy Dog Foundation. So it was really cool because it gave me, like, I was kind of feeling a bit 2D, you know what I mean? Because I was taking these amazing photos, half the time they didn't even look like me because they'd go and airbrush the shit out of you. I was always just getting told, no, you need this to be this, or, you know, just jump, how high do you want me to jump, basically. So it's really cool to be like, this is my thing that I'm getting out to do in the morning and I feel like I have a purpose. And then I kind of got obsessed with like the building of the brand, which is not very good. But I just get shiny object syndrome a little bit. Yeah. And then obviously being a model and taking all these beautiful photos, people are always like, what are you editing your photos with? And that's what led to doing the presets. And that's probably like my biggest income coming in right now is from all the presets. And I love doing that because I love making them and I love like, and I don't know, it's really fun in it, right?
So how do you make a preset? So
I'm not going to give away all my skills.
Just give the generic basic.
So you can just go onto Lightroom, open up your photo, and then you can go through and basically pick out, what you want your exposure to be on, all the different curves, grain, whatever. The most popular ones at the moment is obviously the darker exposure, green, unedited looking. But you're going through and you're toggling like 15 different things. So it takes a little bit of time to edit one photo. So for your general consumer that doesn't know how to edit a photo, that's so good because you can just be like, this is the style that I like, I'll buy this collection. And then all they need to do is then press a button and I've already preset in exactly how they want to edit it. So it's really good.
That's awesome.
And I'd love doing digital products. So I'm sending out watches.
Digital is so much easier.
So annoying. Like I'll never forget being in Bali when COVID hit and our watch order was late. When sold out all these pre-orders and we're like jumping at the factory. We're like, we need these orders. And they're like, everyone's sick. They've all got a cold. I didn't know it was COVID. And I was just thinking, you guys never take time off work. So it was just very like the logistic, especially because I travel a lot. Having digital products and then having somebody just deal with the customer service and I like focus on what I'm good at, which is the content and posting on socials. That is so much better than having a, get a 3PL company in to send out all the watches and stuff on the way. And
I agree.
Yeah, it's a lot.
So is there anything on like the vision, like is there anything on the horizon that you haven't done that you kind of always wanted to jump into? Because I mean, your story is pretty crazy. You know, you're coming, especially from your story is a classic, coming from a small town that has a lot of violence, a lot of crazy shit that goes on, to someone who has millions of followers, who's got a couple of businesses under her belt, who's fist bumped Hugh Hefner, who's been titty grabbed by Justin Bieber. But like, there's all these other crazy things, and I know there's a lot of other stories that they've gone through.
Yeah.
What's on the horizon? Because you're still very young.
Yeah, so that's interesting that you asked me that, because it is something that I've really, really wanted to do for 8 years. And I've been putting it off, but I've put aside the website and I've started kind of building it out and that. But I just needed to kick up the arts, I'll be honest. But recently I just lost a very, very big contract. Thinking this was just before Bali as well, and there was no notice that the company's gone into liquidation.
Wow.
So, and it's a huge company. So I feel like that was the kind of, hey, hurry up and do this, because it's something you really wanted to do. So to see the fans.
Okay.
I'd really like to write a book. I'd love to do that, actually.
What would you write about? Your whole life?
Yeah, I have a lot of very interesting stories. As you can imagine, just based on what we've been up to in the last. So I can't talk about.
Yeah. I mean, I think you have such a great character about you, because you have told me some stories, and the people that you have been hanging out with in Bali. I won't mention the name, but I think you're a very personable person who you love to have a good time, but you're very easygoing, which I really appreciated. You doing this, because I know your schedule is extremely busy. I know you're extremely hungover.
This is helping.
Yeah.
I can feel it going through my veins now.
Yeah.
Like, after this, I'm like, no, but I honestly, when I say, I want to leave my hometown and stuff at a young age and blah, 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 I do really, really owe my hometown and my upbringing to Daddy, because I do think I would be a piece of shit. Like, if I've been hanging out with all these big people and blah, 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 and, been on the cover of all these magazines. But I just feel like it keeps me grounded, knowing where I grew up and stuff. And we had nothing. Like, I just really wanted to work hard to be able to support my mum. And yeah, it's just been crazy to see. She was the only person that believed it. When I told people that I was going to leave university and I had scholarships and stuff to become a model, my whole family basically designed for me. And Mum was like, okay, I'll give you a year, and if you can make half of what you would have as a graduate, which was a lot to me then, then sure, I'll go in and support you 100% and go for it. And then within the first year, I made 3 times what I would have as not just a graduate, but if I had specialised. So after that, she was just like, but it's so funny, because she obviously she lives closer, but she still lives in a small town. Mum's not a city girl.
Yeah.
And her friends act so weird around me. She's like, it's Sarah. Like, it's my daughter. And they're like, oh yeah, do you know she's like famous, eh? And you can imagine them just trying to take
celebrity child.
Like trying to take photos of me across the road and stuff. And I'm like, just come and say hello. You've known me my whole life.
Come buy me a pie.
Oh my God, I do miss New Zealand pies.
New Zealand pies are hands down the best pies in the world. Yeah.
That's coming from an Australian. So if you're giving a Kiwi a compliment.
Yeah, there's a New Zealand pie factory here.
Was there?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't put my neck out there.
Yeah, I know. I was like, I always put my neck out from you putting your neck out.
Pies are my favourite, okay?
Yeah, I might have to take you there while you're still here.
And that burger place you recommended.
Oh, that was an epic burger, yeah.
Seems so good.
Because I know the story that you've told is amazing.
Yeah.
What's some advice you would give to someone? 2 things. When you're younger, right, you took a chance. You spent all this time in university and you took a chance because you realized that it's not for you, right? You kind of felt like you wanted something different, and it's okay to spend 4 years, or like a few years doing what you're doing and then having the scholarship. Oh, wow, everyone wants a scholarship, but you took the time to go, look, I want something different, and you took the chance. So let's talk about that quickly. what advice would you give to someone on if they were in that same position on should they keep going, or how do they kind of figure out on should they just leave that and go and do another opportunity?
See, for me, I'm the worst person to ask because I'm such a big advocate on if someone says to me, I moved to New York for 2 months, or 2 years, sorry. I'll say go. Like, just go. What's worse that's going to happen? You can just come home.
Yeah.
So for me, that was the same with uni. I was like, cool. I'd finished my bachelor's. Did I want to go and do my honours? I didn't feel right to me. And I think everyone does get that gut feeling that you just let all this outside noise kind of influence your decision. And it's shit. It's so hard to push through that because you obviously, the people that are close to you in your life, you want to listen to them. Everyone is so stuck in this 9 to 5, like, I have to work for someone else and for their goals because that's the safest thing to do. And I'm just not wired like that. Like, if I'm not vibing with something, I'm off. Which is kind of bad. But for me, I'm like, just take that risk. In worst case, you can go back and you can go back to uni. You can go back and, you know, it's like people go, oh, but I've wasted 3 years of my life.
But you're still 25.
Yeah, like, what do you mean? Like, even now, I'm 30 now. And now things have changed a little bit more. I won't lie about the thing I've been wanting to do. For some reason, I'm nervous about doing it. But anything I've ever been nervous about doing in my life is always really paid off because I've gone all in. So I think that's my biggest advice is if you are willing to take a risk, don't do anything half-assed. Like, you need to just go chips all in and hope for the best.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, look at all the biggest, like, most successful people in the world. They all have so many failures. But again, you only hear about all the successes and you don't hear about all the bad stuff along the way.
Yeah.
Until, obviously, they ran out of book or something like that. But
I mean, everyone thinks that, like, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, they all think, like, they've been a billionaire since they were, like, in the early 20s. But you look at some people, they've earned, like, I mean, Jeff Bezos and that, he worked his ass off, but it wasn't in his 20s. He didn't become successful until, like, his, like, mid-40s. So
but deceased.
that's it. Everyone thinks 30 is when you retire for some reason.
Be married, you have to have 2 kids and the white picket fence. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I just know that life is off for me.
Yeah.
I just can't.
So what's on the horizon for the rest of the year?
This is being weird. I've got a lot of very big shifts in my life. So towards the end of the year, I'm trying to travel if I can because next year I just really want to buckle down and try and stay in one place for a while, which I'm not very good at doing at all. So I just really want to actually focus on work because I do feel like when I'm traveling, it's hard to get work done because I end up
People
out and
having a good time. People don't understand that when you do travel, it's actually very hard because they look at an influencer and they're traveling around and they think, oh, I wish I could have that life. But it's actually very hard because you're always going in different time zones and it's hard to continue working. So you want to stay in one place. So how does that feel? Is that going to be hard?
it's going to be very hard for me. So that's my one issue is I just like to move around a lot. But obviously, with working as, you know, it's difficult when you're in different time zones and there's always fun stuff to do and you've got friends that are coming through. Like even you being in Bali and stuff, we've turned up and we're like, what are you to go out? Still having to get up at, 5:30 a.m. and have a schedule. So I take my hat off to it and I hate to do it. I'm shocking. The second I'm in another place, I'm like, what? And then I go home and realize I'm very behind on work.
Yeah.
But I think that's something I really need to work on.
It's hard. I mean, it's hard when you're living in one place. I think Bali would be great for you to be in one place. It's a great base because you still get to see everyone. But it is hard. Like, I mean, I'm always like, it's like every second day I get a message saying, hey, I'm in town. But I can really only spend time with my very good friends, like you and Zilla. I'm like going out. You guys are staying with me now, and my other friends are staying as well. So that's fine. I'm very happy to do that. But like, I can't do it with everyone. Like, you got to kind of be my very close friends for me to be able to go out and do that.
No, that's fair. I feel like I can have that work-life balance. It's good. That's something I'm not very good at. The balance thing. I'm either like head down, 9 to 24 months, just like, back to the shitty tequila shots at pouring.
So, I mean, the last question I would like to ask you is, how do you balance, because you have such a big following and you got these businesses, but like, how do you deal with like the publicity and everything? Because a lot of girls, right? I mean, a lot of guys as well, but I mean, you're a female, so let's talk about the girls because you have a lot of girls that look up to you. They all want this. They all want the publicity. They want the fame. They want the followers, but it comes with a lot of stuff that you kind of got to like, black out. So how do you deal with, negative comments or negative DMs or shit publicity? How do you deal with that?
We Daily Mail write something bad, then I'm still a bit like, that still doesn't get me down.
Yeah.
But I don't know if this is necessarily the best advice, but how I personally deal with it is if it's got to the point where if someone comments and says, you're really beautiful, I take that the same as if someone says, you look like a transvestite and you have horse nose, for example. Like, I just go, that's all good. That's their opinion. But the opinions of the people that are in a very small circle, that's all that matters. Mm-hmm. Because they're the people that really know me, you know what I mean? And I get it. Like, if my photos are photos are so 2D, and I love streets because I can kind of have my personality more. Yeah. But with Instagram, for example, which is kind of my main platform, you are just looking at the highlights of people's lives. And when I try to be more how you know me on stories, people don't really care. They're like, go back to posting all your inspo stuff and where did you get that top from? And that's what people follow me for. So I just kind of need to remember that they don't know what's actually here. You know what I mean? Some people do, other people don't. And that's fine. That's just how it is.
So that's an important thing for people to always like work from here.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I really realized that like after, I don't know if you know this, but I got my breast implants removed like 6 months ago.
Oh, really?
Which again was something that I decided when I was younger, just mainly based on the fact that all the industries are saying that I boobs and big and obviously working with brands like Playboy, everyone has their boobs done. And then I got very sick, like very, very sick. And if I had 4 times, ended up in hospital. I was tired, was allergic to everything. Just had lots of very, very strange things going on. As you get hip surgery, and then that didn't fix it. And I think that's a good piece of advice for people, especially the young girls that look up to me and anyone else on social media is don't go and try and change everybody. Like, I'm just a very, very big person on what's on the inside now.
Yeah.
And I've just turned into a completely different person since I got them taken out. I had such bad anxiety and stuff. I just didn't, I could never come to meet you because I didn't know who you were. Like, when Zilla said we spoke with dinner, for example, I would have been having an absolute freak out. But for no reason. I don't know. I got them out and I was fine. All these weird symptoms I was having just disappeared. And I'm so much healthier and happier now. And I just think sometimes with social media especially, and all the filters and everything else, and Kardashians and all these really big people that are just unattainable because they have had all this work done and they just lie about it. It's kind of causing people to go and alter their bodies in ways that aren't. It's not going to make you happier. Like, I'm sorry, but if you're not, I can see you for experience. If you're not happy with your body and you go and change it, you're not going to be happy after. It's like you really need to work on your actual mindset. Well, it's very aggressive. I've gone through it myself. So,
well, I mean, I think that's probably ending on that is like the best value, and I think a lot of people can walk away definitely with understanding that from your perception. Yeah, I think it's probably very important. So I think I'm gonna end the episode here on that high note.
Awesome.
So thank you, Sarah, for coming. I'm glad you've enjoyed the tequila. Out of 10 right now. Out of 10, what would you rate the tequila now?
Oh, really enjoyed that one. So we're gonna bump out one more, so 9.5.
Oh, 9.5. Let's go.
Out of 10. That's a very high rating.
Very nice. For someone who doesn't like tequila, a 9.5.
Darn it, you were right.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you for coming. And thank you for watching. So this has been another episode. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. If you love tequila, write in the comments what you love about it. And if you have some stories, write it in the comments as well. As for now, adios.